everybody, and welcome to episode 54 of the Casual Gamecast, a weekly video game podcast for the everyday gamer, brought to you by the team at Casual Game Content. I'm Phil Keogh, and I'm joined by the beautiful Shane Bow. Shane Bow, hello.
Hello.
And I am also joined by the wonderful Aaron Thompson. Hello, Aaron.
Podcast so nice, you gotta come on it thrice. It's me again.
The CGC Badger returns. And we are also joined by a very special guest. Finally, we've been trying to get her on for weeks, my friends. It is the one, the only, Kerri. Kerri, hello.
Hello.
Great to have you here. And you're coming to us from the Purple Lair.
I am. This is my lair. I like it here.
And it suits you. If you are unfamiliar to this podcast, you, my friend, have stumbled across what is by far the most casual gaming podcast in the universe. A casual gamecast, if you will. And if you have been here before, welcome back, because we've got a great show for you guys this week. As per usual, we're going to chat it up and then talk about what we've been playing or maybe even watching during the week before taking a very quick break for an ad and remind you of our socials before we jump into the news that we want to talk about this week. Then we are going to answer the question of the week, which does normally come from our community, and you can get in on that question asking action if you go over to our socials, our Casual Game Community Facebook group, or our Discord. The links are down below. But this week I wanted to ask a question because I had an epiphany this week when playing a specific game, and I'll tell you about that very soon. But my question this week, guys, is what is a good game to listen to podcasts while playing? Okay, it's one of those weird things. We all do it in some way, shape or form, and if you don't, I highly encourage it. But before we get to all that, and if you want to hear those answers, stick around to the end. I have to know, Shane, Kerri, Aaron, how has this week been? Shane, I'm going to start with you because I don't want to just throw it straight to the guest.
That's fine. So like we spoke about last week, I had a very uneventful week, so I brought some things to the table to talk about instead.
I am so proud of you for remembering that, my friend.
Yes. The first thing is actually kind of life related, but I wanted to bring up a different conversation around it. So I went back to the pub for the first time in, I don't know, God knows how long. I went to a pub and drank pub alcohol and etc. etc.
Okay, can I pause you for a second? All right, like within this month, we've had this conversation where you said you went back to the pub for the first time since the lockdown.
Have we?
Yes. And
That'll show you how much I drank at the pub.
And then I said, wait a second, you haven't gone once? And you're like, actually, I think I went that first time it reopened, so you've been at least 2 or 3 times.
This is true, actually. See, this is just to tell you what the alcohol does to me. I can't remember going to the pub.
Man, tell me about it.
The reason I bring it up is because I got absolutely stociously drunk, as you do. Drunker than I've been in a long time. And I wanted to bring it up, especially while there was 4 people on the show, because I think we have a good cross section of ages here.
I'll beg your pardon, Shane. Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm not asking anyone to list their age live on the show, but what I'm saying is I think we have a good focus group here for something I want to bring up.
Okay.
And that is the 2-Day Hangover.
I've literally been talking about this week. I'm very interested to hear your thoughts. Actually, Kerri and Aaron, again, we're not going to list any ages here, but I know me and Shane are the same age because we have the same birthday and we grew up together. As for you guys, I know Kerri's a little bit younger than me, and I know that Aaron is even more younger, I believe. So we do have a kind of a nice swath of ages. Is this something you guys are familiar with, the 2-Day Hangover?
I got one once, and it was entirely my fault. No, nobody gave it to me. I definitely gave it to myself. Yeah, I don't really drink that much because that's literally how much I hate hangovers. It's one of the worst things to me is just not waking up, just ready to go. I'm still not ready to go, but it's my fault at least. It's not the hangover's fault. So I just try not add an extra layer to that. So I don't really drink that much because that's literally how hangovers get me. But I have had 2-day hangovers, and it's just head wrecking.
Cool.
And what's weird is I've heard about it a lot more in the past week. So it's just strange that you brought it up. So I don't know if it's just the fact that we've all been away from the pub for so long that pubs are specifically putting stuff to reduce numbers coming in, so people have to at least get that buffer day in between. But
I don't think that's it. I think there's another good reason, and that's tied to that same buffer time. But we'll get to that. Kerri, is this something you are familiar with?
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
yes. Very familiar with. 2, 3, sometimes week-long hangovers.
Wow.
Plus the fear, which is never fun. But yeah, definitely 2-day hangovers are a thing.
Yes.
I think once you hit 27, that's it.
Yes.
2-day hangovers are the norm.
When you hit 27, I think you start getting them. When you hit 30, they are definite. And then every year after that, it becomes closer to a 3-day hangover and a 4-day hangover.
Yeah, I was just going to say, with age increases the frequency days of hangover. Like, there's probably some kind of maths graph we could do here if we were maths inclined, but I'm definitely not.
Shane's our video editor, so now throw that graph up on the screen.
We're going to have a stat bomb come up about hangover, 2 and 3 day hangovers. But yeah, I think the whole novelty of being back in a pub gets you excited, which means you're consuming more alcohol, you're having the crack, you're not even really, you're like, yeah, this is great crack. And I was definitely paying for it for 2 days. And I just wanted to, put a survey out to the room, especially with varying ages, about the 2-day hangover.
Yeah. I can speak very recently about my experience. I had the first work night out. I don't know, did I talk about this last week? Maybe I did. No, it was the next. Actually, this is the first time I've been recording since it, because it was the Friday after our last recording. We had our first work night out, like, in about a year and a half, and our work nights out are pretty good because it's always like open bar. So people kind of go nuts, and people take the piss a little bit. It's kind of like if you're drinking a pint, somebody will come over and say, "What are you doing, man? That's like $4.50. Why don't you get like 4 cocktails and really make the most of it?" So inevitably, I think I had about 7 or 8 pints of Coors Light, and I was thinking to myself, I'm going to have 1 or 2 and go home. I'll be sensible this time. 7 or 8 pints of Coors Light, followed by about 6 or 7 whiskey sours. I was a pretty sore boy for about 3 days afterwards.
I could imagine, for sure, because I think whiskey and cocktails is exactly how I got into the same mess.
Yeah. So what were you drinking?
Long Island's and just Jameson and ginger ale as well, because I really like Jameson and ginger ale. But yeah, we tried to order whiskey sours, but the bar was out of a particular ingredient
The bitters.
to make whiskey. Yes, it was the bitters. So we just ended up drinking lots of Long Island iced teas. And I tried an espresso martini for the first time.
Yeah, they're okay.
I liked them.
They're delicious.
They're really tasty, yeah. And really good, if you need that kick to, if you've had a hard day's work and you need to kind of get drinking and partying with the lads or whatever, it's like, yeah, espresso martini down the neck. Sorted.
I don't think anybody's ever put the phrase "party with the lads" and espresso martinis in the same sentence before. Go you.
Well, I was with the lads, and one of the lads went, "You know what? I've never had an espresso martini, so I'm going to order one."
And I applaud him for it. I applaud you for it also. Fair play.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a phenomenon. I guess. Well, we kind of covered your question then, have we? I definitely get.
Yeah.
I get 3-day hangovers if I go hard enough. And Kerri is, unfortunately, I can see the fear in Kerri's eyes. She can actually remember the last one she had. And Aaron is our baby boy, but he's maturing into the 2-day hangover very nicely, it seems. But yeah, it's an age thing.
Definitely. Yeah, I just wanted to throw it to the room. I think we've covered it. It's something that unites us all as a species, the hangover.
Oh, well. Aaron, what about you, my friend? How have you been this week?
My week has been good. My parents have been off on holidays, so I've been home alone. It's been... Yeah, didn't make the house any louder. I mean, look, I work from home, so I've just had a fairly plain old week. I got a Google Home Mini. That's been the spicing of my week. Is that the Alexa type thing from Google? Yeah, pretty much. It's now we had one down in the kitchen for years that I think Mom just used to get too frustrated at. So I just took it out of the press. I was like, here, it'll be mine. If you ever want to pretend like you're going to use it, I'll pop it back in the kitchen.
Sure.
But so yeah, it's in my room now. They're very handy. I used it last night for sleep sounds for the first time in my life, having a notion if it actually made a difference or if it worked because I was asleep. So
well, that works.
It's either a good or a bad
That's a
thing.
successful test.
Yeah. But yeah, that's about the spiciest thing that happened to me this week. Now was I took an old piece of tech out of the press.
We are really hitting a new rock bottom here, folks. The spiciest thing that happened this week was you played some sleep sounds.
I mean, the other spicy thing was I went to Aldi to get non-alcoholic beer, and both of the local Aldis were sold out. So I mean, there's an extra sprinkling on top.
That's just disappointing. That's just very disappointing, isn't it?
Yeah, I was very upset, and I kept getting stared out of it by security guards. I'm like, I am trying to buy non-alcoholic beer here, Mister.
That's just because of the look of you. It has nothing to do with the beer, Aaron.
Actually,
You're a youth in a white hoodie and a peak cap. You're one. I would look at you too.
yeah, actually, Joe, you sold me. I should have been arrested. I actually should have. If they had any of that non-alcoholic beer, they should have just back of the skull with it and just brought me to jail.
And moving on. So, Kerri, we finally have Kerri on the show. How the hell are you? Where might people know you from, and what are your passions, and what kind of games do you enjoy? All these questions now.
I don't really know where people might know me from.
Well, you've got a quite a substantial Twitter.
Yeah, they could know me from Twitter. They could know me from Destiny. That's pretty much about it. And my week has been, unfortunately, fairly dull. It's just been work, home, gaming, sleep. Work, home, gaming, sleep.
Yes.
So I know that's not normally allowed to say that you've done not much, but I genuinely have done not much.
No, you're allowed. It's your first time on. You're allowed to say, like, you get one. You know, everybody gets one. You know what I mean? If you come back on next week, then we're going to have to pin you.
Okay. I mean, I haven't even been to Aldi, so I'm literally the lowest tier on the podcast. I have done nothing exciting this week.
Well, I'm thinking twice about going to Aldi again if there's going to be rogues like Aaron going around in the non-alcoholic beer sections.
I'm watching for you.
But no, it's great to have you, Kerri. Anybody that may not be familiar, Kerri is our resident Destiny expert, I'm going to have to say. By which I mean you play an unholy amount of Destiny.
Yes, I do. I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I definitely play an ungodly amount. So make of that what you will.
Oh, I will. And that I have one interesting thing I guess I can bring to the table this week. I was kayaking yesterday.
Cool.
So, like, normally we record this of a Thursday night. I know you'll only ever hear this on a Monday, but that's when we normally record. We're recording today on a Friday because I was dragged into a situation. Dragged is a harsh word. I was willing to go to a situation where I was going to go kayaking in Cork City in the River Lee, like on the Keys. It was a beautiful experience. It was also a informative experience because it was like one of those history tour / kayak things, and also it was a fucking gross experience.
Yeah, I was
that
just going to say
water is not clean.
No, a city centre river is not the place to be.
There was parts of that river, man, where there was just like, you know, taco fries and cans of beer floating beside me. Other parts where it was like leaves and oil, and then like the smell at certain areas where clearly it's like runoff from sewage systems and stuff. It's like, this is lovely. Yeah. Now, over time, you kind of get out of the city and you're in a kind of more country area, and there's like herons and trout, and, you know, there's like all this kind of like, you know, otters and stuff. It's lovely. But then, like, you know, at one point I was like paddling along, And next thing I just seen in the splash from my paddle was like a fag butt and half a Rizla pack, and I was just like, yeah, this is lovely. But I highly recommend it if anybody's going to do it. I actually told the guy I would recommend people, so even though it's not his fault the water's like that, it was actually a really cool thing. I learned a lot about Cork as I did it, so it was really weird actually. I was underneath all the bridges in the city. Like, I've walked over these bridges a million times, and then to see them from the underneath with the lights on and everything was really cool actually.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be doing that anytime soon based off your description.
I'm telling you.
Sorry, Mr. Kayak Tour guy, but he didn't sell it very well.
I'm going to drag you and Katie down here one of these days, and I swear to God, we're getting you in a tandem kayak, and we're going down the Lee.
Fun fact about me, I don't know how to swim.
It's a kayak. You don't need to. It's fine.
Just if I fall out of it or anything, there could be a lot of screaming and panicking and flailing about in the water.
Where's my how to kill Shane list? Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. That has been the week in review. Let's get into what have we been playing. And Aaron, I'm going to throw a very sneaky request your way. Could you come up with a stinger for this?
Oh, I could definitely try my bestest.
I'm thinking something along the lines of, we've always joked about the Resident Evil 4 guy, like, what are you buying? Something like that.
Yeah.
You know?
What are you buying?
What are you playing? You know, yeah, and in your best Mighty Boosh impersonation. Was it the Hitcher?
Oh yeah.
I'll give it a shot. I'll be walking around. I'll walk around my room because I recently got one of those handheld mics, so I cannot wait for my parents to come back from holidays to me doing circles in my room. Just what are you playing? What are you watching?
We should never leave him again.
What are you playing? Yeah.
Awesome. So considering Aaron should now have a stinger for this, play that thing. So, now that you at home have heard that stinger that even I haven't heard at this point, what have we been playing? Shane, I'm going to start with you.
Still on that Metro Exodus train.
Oh, yeah, and that's a pun in itself.
Yes, because you spend a lot of time on a train in that game. It pulled a bit of a Days Gone on me here. So, I thought I was like, at the end. And then it was like, haha, here's another really stupid story reason for the game to be another 8 hours longer. Yeah, this kind of thing. And it introduced like a whole new weapon that I never had before and all this kind of carry on. I am enjoying it. It's fun. I had a thought the other day that it kind of feels like the Tomb Raider reboots of first-person shooters, where it's like some of it's very corridor guided, you can only go one direction, and then other parts of it are very like, here's a big, vast, open area. Go to a landmark. Go do what you like. Go explore that thing over there.
Sure.
And it's fun that way. I've been enjoying it. I will continue to enjoy it. I will finish it, but you'll be glad to know, Phil, hopefully for next week, I have taken possession of a copy of Hades for the PS5.
Ooh, interesting. What do you mean taken possession?
I borrowed it from a friend.
I was like, wait, hold on. What kind of nefarious act have you undertaken here?
I raided someone's house in a police uniform and stole their copy of Hades. I know, I took possession of a copy of Hades, and as soon as I finish Metro Exodus, that is my next jaunt in gaming, will be that. So
nice. Stay
tuned, folks, to find out my impressions of Hades. Hopefully next week. I hope to have Metro finished. I hope it's not another one of these ones where it's like, oh, here's an extra 20 hours of game for no reason.
Yeah, well, if it is, it is. It'll be... I desperately need to get back to Hades. I fell off of it when Ghost of Tsushima came out, so I do need to get back to it. But I will be interested to hear your thoughts, because if I remember your thoughts about... What's that game called? Resistor? No. Returnal, thank you. It's quite like Returnal, only in 2D. So I'll be interested to see what your feelings are.
Yeah, my struggle with Returnal was the difficulty. Now, I don't know if Hades is as difficult or pegged as being super difficult.
It can be, yeah, but there's more to it. But yeah, we won't color your expectations. Yeah. We'll wait until you see. We'll wait until you see. Aaron, what about you, my friend? Have you been playing anything this week?
Nothing new. I'm still playing Humankind on and off. I haven't got to play much this week, but yeah, Humankind mostly. I know I gave a very poorly worded review last week because I was still getting the grips, but yeah, I mean, it's Humankind. I'm enjoying it. It's nice. Every time I play a new game, I still want to keep playing it. So, I mean, that's what more do you want?
That's it.
Yeah.
Sign of a good game, my friend. Sign
Yeah.
of a good game. Well, that's good. Like, Humankind is going to be one of those types of games. It's a real-time strategy. You could spend 2 years playing it, you know. So, like,
It's especially with the culture stacking. There's just you could just get a notion one day. Go, oh, what if I went to be, the Huns after the Celts and stack that production bonus or whatever. Like you can just find a million different new ways of playing. So
these are the questions that keep me up at night too.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. That's fair, dude. We will check in on you again on this, and if you tell us at the 3rd or 4th week that you're still playing Humankind, we'll send help. Don't worry. But that only leaves myself and Kerri. Kerri, I'm going to ask you first. What have you been playing over the past week, or just in general? Because you have this lovely position of not having been here last week, so you can tell me anything.
Well, my main game is Destiny, which I don't think will come as a surprise. But that is what I have spent most of my time playing. Sometimes I'll play Dead by Daylight, or I'll try a new game, but 9 times out of 10 I will always fall back into Destiny because it has me. And a new season has just come out, so I am especially excited, and they have just dropped the trailer for their next expansion, which is really exciting. So yeah, all in on Destiny right now.
We've talked outside the podcast about this new expansion that's going to be coming, and you said something that really interested me, and it was, I'm paraphrasing now, of course, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it was that it's going to bring content that people have been waiting for since Destiny 1. I think that's what you said, was it?
Yeah. So there's lore.
What does that mean?
So there's lore in Destiny that goes back to Destiny 1, and the bad guy in this expansion has been mentioned in Destiny 1, so it's kind of unfolding a lot of secrets, and we've all been waiting to see what happens with this from Destiny 1, so it's been highly anticipated, and hopefully Bungie pull it off and don't disappoint us, but we'll see.
Awesome.
This season is looking really good, so hopefully it's a good sign.
Yeah, like give us an idea, because let's just go around the room here for a second. I was on to Destiny 1 when it launched immediately. I thought that was a whole fascinating project, the whole Bungie thing. They were coming back. I played the beta and I was really impressed by how it felt, and I still to this day, like, Destiny is by far the best feeling first person shooter on the planet. There's no competition. It feels amazing still to play. And coming from Bungie, you'd expect no less. But even I remember back then Paul McCartney being involved with the music, and there was just so many things that were pulling people in. And then I played Destiny 1, and as much as I wanted to love it, I didn't love it. I found it was like really great at what it was doing, but there was something missing. And I think Destiny 2 has really kind of filled that void. It's really, after bringing it up to the next level, and I can completely understand why you would be as enamored by it as you are, because when I got my Xbox Series, whatever it's called, I downloaded the next gen version of Destiny because it was free to play, and I went, yep, I'll try this out, and it looks and plays fantastic. It's just such a delight to pop back in. Shane, are you familiar with Destiny?
Yeah, so I played through Destiny 1. When I say played through, I probably rolled whatever semblance of credits it is to finish that game. I can't really remember, it's been a while ago. Played it with some friends, enjoyed it, had a bit of crack. But when it comes to the whole grind, daily, weekly strike thing, mission stuff, that's where I fall off. That's the same with any game of that variety. Then I got Destiny 2 as part of PlayStation Plus or one of these subscriptions. Got stuck into it with a few mates. Then again, it was great crack. And then eventually hit the kind of grind point where I was like, okay, I've seen enough now. I'm happy out. And I really enjoyed it both times, and I do agree with you, Phil. It is a top-tier shooter in terms of handling and, just FPS mechanics.
Yep. It's interesting you say that because, I think there's two different people, I think, and that I am much like you. When you hit that grind point, that's like, it doesn't matter whether it's Destiny or any other game. Destiny's the one game that almost kept me. It almost kept me in there, but like I just find it so we've talked about this before. You're a gaming monogamist, Shane, where like you'll finish a game and then move on to something. Whereas I'm playing like 50 things at once and I never finish anything as a result. And when a game asks me to come back every day, it's too much. I just I can't commit. I can't commit, Shane. but you know, it's so close. It almost had me in there. But then people like yourself, Kerri, like you can see the progress. You can see, you know, the point behind it, and I'm sure your characters are lethal at this point.
I don't know. I think some of the people I play with might disagree, but yeah, it's just for me. It's probably bold statement. It's probably my favorite game, um, because regardless what you're in the mood for, there is something to suit that, and I play it with an amazing group of people, so that always helps. Um, but yeah, the grind, I think you either love it or hate it, and I think personally the grind is what keeps me going back, is
Yeah.
because I have this like, oh well, if I don't play it this month, I'm gonna miss out on this weapon or I'm gonna miss out on this piece of gear, and that is how they have me, and that's how I end up dropping other games and going back to Destiny because I don't want to miss out on something crucial. Um, but yeah, I'm very biased, but it's an amazing game, and I would recommend it to anybody. So
There you go,
that's
folks.
just that.
Run, don't walk. But no, no, 100%. Like, and I to wrap this point up, I guess. As we always say here, it doesn't matter what you're playing. It doesn't matter what you're doing in life. It doesn't matter, like, whatever makes you happy, whatever gives you those, like, you know, messages in your brain that says I'm having a good time, you are doing the right thing, you know what I mean? So if you play one game, if you play a million games, it doesn't matter. You're playing a game, and by golly, I support that. But thank you, Kerri, much appreciated. We will be checking in. We're going to reach out to Kerri anytime we have a Destiny related correspondence, any kind of question. So keep that inbox open, Kerri.
Okay.
And as for myself, I have been playing a couple of things as I tend to, so I'm going to try and keep it down to 2 things. I could tell you 10 things. I swear to God, I'm not lying. I could tell you 10 things.
Oh, we believe you.
This week alone. But I'll keep it to 2. But I will add in a bonus one. As of last Saturday, we started a different game streaming on Twitch. You can join us on Twitch every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. at the Casual Game Co. Twitch channel. It'll be in the link in the description below. But we started Horizon Zero Dawn, and the reason, Shane, was because if you will remember about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we talked about Horizon Zero Dawn and how we were excited about the new sequel that's coming out, Forbidden West or whatever. And I was saying that I tried Zero Dawn on the PS5 expecting it to like run smooth and be 4K and whatever, and I was surprised and shocked, to say the least, that it wasn't, and it kind of ran crap. They fixed that this week with just a shadow patch of just, oh hey, now it runs in 4K 60 and go for it. So I got super excited and I streamed it for like 4 or 5 hours that day. It looks phenomenal. I will say that. It really genuinely looks as good as anything else that's on the PS5 right now. It's amazing what, you know, the 64K patch did to that game.
Yeah, I noticed that. I watched a couple of like YouTube clips of it and stuff like that on the PS5 upgrade. And that game looked amazing on the PS4. Like, there is no denying that. You know, like, and I'm not surprised that it just looks as good, if not better, than anything that's currently PS5 exclusive. Like, it does not surprise me at all. Just the one thing we always can give Sony props for is their first parties really knock it out of the park, like, every time.
And Guerrilla Games as well, like the Killzone guys.
Yeah.
Really? Like,
yeah,
you know, that's
awesome.
That was a great first outing for them. In terms of open world, I mean. But I won't dwell on that any longer. Do come over to Casual Game Co. on Twitch if you want to see that on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Now, what I've actually been playing, I'll keep this one very quick, is Ghost of Tsushima. I'm still playing through that. It is beautiful, and I just want to make a point in that I think what is the biggest attraction to that, as I said last week, is the art style. But I think I figured out why. It's simplicity. it's sheer beauty and simplicity. Like, it's just, there's so little going on in any environment, but it's all done and honed in its beauty through simplicity. It'll just be like a field of lilies and like 4 trees, and it's beautiful, you know? And it doesn't go for like, oh, I must put like a big dirty village over here and put this over here. And it's just like, no, the quiet, simple moments are just done in such an artistic, painterly way that that's all you need. And it's just beautiful to experience it, you know? Then you can contrast that with like a cyberpunk where it's just like, you know, information overload, and it actually makes you want to vomit playing it at times, you know.
I don't think past Ghost of Tsushima, I don't think there's any other game does being in nature as well. Like, it's just nearly everywhere you go, there's just sections of the map where you're like, do you know what, I just want to sit here. I just want to sit down and chill. Don't even want to play it. I just want to look. Just let me have a little scrunchy around. It's
a little scrunchy.
I couldn't tell you. But yeah, like, even in terms of what you're saying, but like the minimal UI, and like essentially half the UI is the world around you, like with like the direction the wind blows, light changes, stuff like that. You're dead right. Like, there is no game has, like, the world is part of the game. Breath of the Wild as well,
that's what I was going to say. It's like a higher resolution version of Breath of the Wild in a lot of ways, and especially with the wind and everything, it reminds me an awful lot as I'm playing through that as a super, super violent version of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
But I did talk about that last week, so I won't talk about that anymore this week. What else did I play? I played something else. Oh, yes. This is the reason our podcast question, our question of the week is about podcasts and what you would listen to whilst playing a video game. I started a new game recently that is not a new game. It's new to me, but it's quite an old game. I think I have an addiction close to heroin, and I think Kerri already knows what I'm talking about. It's a very simple game by the name of House Flipper. Has anybody played House Flipper?
I love it. I don't know why, but like, just those like, just games that should not exist. And I don't know what it is, but it's like, oh, this is just gonna be like the next 3 days of my life. I'm just only gonna like that. I don't know why. And then like after 3 days, you're like, okay, I'm done. I'm sorted with you. It is. You go on a bender of them games. I don't know what it is. It's just. Yeah, and House Flipper, it's very, that's a very satisfying title.
It is. Around. Shane, what about you? Are you familiar with House Flipper?
I was just going to say, let me play devil's idiot for a moment and ask, what is House Flipper?
Let me explain it to you and anybody who may be listening. A devil's idiot, I like that. So, House Flipper is essentially what it says on the tin. It's a simulation game where you play somebody who does odd jobs in people's houses, such as cleaning, repairing, painting, that type of thing, and then you level up to the point where you're buying properties and doing them up and flipping them. It's literally that type of thing. Now, what got me into it was the Nintendo Switch actually has a sale going on at the moment where the company that makes all these weird simulation games like that, bus driving simulator, that type of, all these weird like experience games and simulators like Aaron was kind of alluding to there, that company was having like a clearance sale or something on the Switch store because every one of their games were down from like €20 down to €2. So I just bought them all. I was like, yep, cool, give me them all, you know. And I tried House Flipper immediately, and I fell in love with it. But then I upgraded to the PC version because that Switch one's pretty rough looking, and now I'm in like all beautiful mode. But yeah, man, like, as somebody who used to be a contractor, like this is really lighting something in my brain. The synapses are firing. Like, I turn up at the house, I'm like, right, let's go. So then I go in. Like, there'll be different scenarios, Shane, when you're starting off in the game. So you don't like immediately start off with like loads of money to buy houses and do them up whatever way you want. You start off as a grunt handyman, essentially taking jobs from people, and one might be, hey, my parents went away for like a month and they're coming back soon and they want to host a Christmas do in the gaff when they come back. Can you clean up the mad party I had last night and then like hang some Christmas decorations and, you know, put in a new wall next to the garage or something like that. So you're literally just going around cleaning the gaff and like picking up all the beer bottles and like breaking down walls and all this stuff. It's actually, it sounds terrible. It feels amazing. I don't know why. Like if I was to turn up at your house, Shane, to clean your mess before your parents arrived, I would actually vomit on your front door. I would be like, no, Shane, no, sir. I am not happy with this arrangement that you seem to have made between us. However, you put me in a video game, I'll do that all day long. And I will put on a podcast, much like the Casual Gamecast, and I will just scrub floors all day long and I will feel so relaxed while I'm doing it.
Nice. That does sound fun. I can understand the appeal. I really can. And the fact that you eventually get to try flip the houses as well, I'm sure that's kind of like crack, you know, trying to get more money than you paid for the house and stuff.
Oh yeah, I haven't gotten to that point yet, but I can't wait. I think that's going to be what extends that game out past 3 days for me. You know what I mean? That's going to be a thing for me, big time. But once I finish this, I'm going to have to learn how to ride a bus and drive a bus and do all these other things. So, you know, simulation games are kind of in my blood right now, and I really want to try that power wash simulator thingy as well.
Me too, and the lawn cutting simulator.
Yes. Give me all these jobs I hate in real world.
Yeah, the approaching middle-aged man in me really wants to play lawnmower simulator.
That's a fan cut. Kerri, I know that you play quite a bit of House Flipper. Am I kind of on the same level as you here, or am I just like a sick person at this point?
No. So I've flipped and sold the houses at that point where I am in the game. But yeah, there's something just so satisfying about it to like clean the windows and pick up the rubbish, all stuff that you would not want to do in your own home. But sitting there on your Switch, surrounded by the mess in your own home, you're there picking up the rubbish. There is something really, really satisfying about it. I play it on the PlayStation. I got it on the Switch, but I find the PlayStation is a easier version to manage. But yes, I can see how it sucked you in, because it sucked me in for about a week, and I know if I went back to it, I'd be sucked right back in.
Yes. So. And you brought up two interesting points there before we move on. Like the first one being, yeah, it's hilarious. Like I was sitting around my house that desperately needs a Hoover as I Hoover and mop some virtual house. But then number two, you mentioned that the PlayStation one is kind of easier to manage.
Yeah.
That's what I noticed when I moved over to the PC as well. It's like not only mouse and keyboard is obviously really handy for these games, and in fact most of the consoles support mouse and keyboard if you do have it on a console. But even when you're playing it with a controller, some of the menus were different. Like some of the things you can access were completely different between the Switch and the other consoles. So I think a lot of the stuff just got cut out to put it onto the Switch.
Yeah.
So like if you do have a choice, anyone listening at home that now wants to flip some houses, if you have the option to go to the other consoles or a PC, do. But if you don't, get it on the Switch and you won't regret it, trust me. Well, maybe you will regret it because your house will just fall into an absolute disarray, shambles.
Not your virtual house, though. Your virtual house
your virtual house will be on
pristine.
fleek. It'll be on fleek.
Well.
But that's what we've been playing this week, folks. So you know as well as I do what that means. That means we are about to take a break where you're going to hear an ad, and then you're going to hear our socials, and then we are going to come back and tell you what news has happened in the gaming world that we gave a damn about. Okay, great stuff. See you then. Play that thing. Hey there. If you want to keep up with all things casual game content, you can do so in a number of ways. The easiest way to do so is to follow us on all of our socials at Casual Game Co. Not content because you only get 15 characters, but hey, what can you do? At Casual Game Co. That's at CASUALGAMECO. Can't be any simpler than that. On Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook. And when you're at Facebook, look for the group, the Casual Game Community. It's a good bunch. We're going to love you. Come on by. If you could do us a massive favor, like the podcast, review the podcast, and just tell a friend about the podcast. it goes a long way. And you can find all of our content on podcast forums, wherever you get your podcasts, by searching for Casual Game Cast. Thanks again for all of your help and all of your support. It means the absolute world to us. Now, back to the show. And we are back. Now, guys, as you may or may not be aware, this is the half of the show where we talk to you about all things that we are excited about that happened in this week in gaming in what we like to call the newsreel. So play that thing.
News.
So our first news story of this week is one that's kind of causing a lot of, I guess, controversy in the gaming landscape, and it's pretty ridiculous in my mind, but I'm really interested to hear what you guys here with me think, and also what you at home think. Please let me know in the comments down below. But Resident Evil, okay, it seems as if Resident Evil is in the news, and not for the best of reasons. It's after showing some screens of some of the people who are going to be playing Leon and Claire in the upcoming Resident Evil movie. People are not happy with these screenshots, and it seems as if a lot of people are comparing them to cosplayers. And not only that, there's kind of issues around, well, they're a different race, and there's a whole thing. Shane, have you seen this?
I have seen this. Like, I mean, like, you know, fanboys going a fan. You know, there's just like, you can't have nice things nowadays without some kind of fandom going, no, it's not the way we like it. We want it the way it has always been. Don't ever change anything. Just get over yourselves, lads. It's like, you know what I mean? It's a TV show. The decisions were made that are way out of your control by like 400 different people, producers and costume designers and directors and art directors and script writers and all this kind of thing. Lots and lots of money has already gone into making this. Your little whingy internet rant is not going to change things. Unless it's the Sonic movie.
Yeah.
Unless it's the Sonic movie. That's the one time it did.
Sonic was a bit a bit of an event, I suppose. But like, especially Shane, what you're talking about, it's literally just the internet version of "Let me see your manager now." Like,
it's a Karen moment. It's a big Karen moment here.
Like, no, I want it this way. And actually, fair enough. Like, let's
try and split this conversation into two here as well. Let's look at the cosplay angle first, and then we'll look at the races of the actors as a separate conversation, because otherwise we'll get very muddy here. But sorry, Aaron, to your point there on how the characters look, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at the screenshot there that was provided. If we want to talk about the characters, how the characters look first, I really don't care. I said it in the green room. They're not real, right? They never were. They're not going to be. I know you like them, but there's like, I'm going to introduce you to this incredible concept called the James Bond saga, where one character was 30 different people at this stage.
Yes.
You can have different iterations of the same people. I don't really care what he looks like. If you want to talk about the show and the production quality, well, yeah, I'll be honest, like in that screenshot provided, and maybe that's just like an out of context thing, like that lighting's
like this
not
is the
great.
issue,
it
is
looks
that like
weird.
it's just a screen. It's not in motion. Like it's,
yeah,
you know,
it'd tell a lot more if you had some context for it. Going off of a screenshot, yeah, I don't know, it's a bit weird. It's like, I don't know. It's literally like judging a book by its cover, I suppose.
It is. And, you know, our lovely editor, Shane, whilst we have been talking about this whole thing, might have put up what we're talking about somewhere on the screen. Yeah. But, yeah, I agree. I think that, you know, taking race out of the conversation, I think just the whole look and feel, like the screenshots that we've seen of both Leon and Claire, they are wearing clothes that I would associate to that character. They are lit relatively well. I don't know what more people expect from when they say these look like people who are cosplaying. If I take race out of the equation, is it that they're not happy with the quality of the costumes? Is it, I don't understand what the big issue
think so.
here is.
I think people's problem is it looks like, just judging solely off a screenshot, I have nothing else to go on. It can look, they probably think it looks a tad like something the Sci-Fi Channel would make, where it's made for like £3 on a shoestring budget, which means which means this world that they love is not going to get like the expensive treatment they want. You know, like a lot of sci-fi channel stuff is like a green screen and some dude in like a really cheesy like Halloween cop uniform going, I'm a police officer or whatever. And I think that's what people's problem is when they say cosplay.
I think the issue is that they released a screenshot of somebody standing on set, and it's literally just somebody took a photo, and it wasn't like a highly overworked Photoshop to the hell and back with like blood effects, you know, over the corners, and you know, like ridiculous lighting and the filters applied. Like if they had done like a cast reel like they do for shows like, I don't know, the Umbrella Academy or something, where you see like every character in their like own poster, you know, like this is not a poster, this is just a screenshot. You know, and I think that's, if they had gotten at least a poster, I think people wouldn't care as much. But it's just like, no, this is the reality of it. Like, that's what a police officer's uniform looks like, guys. I'm sorry. Like, you know, that's kind of what it is, I think.
On top of what you were saying there about like this is just a picture of some, just a closer look at that picture. There's a lot of grain in there,
yes,
which to me means that's most likely not going to be the camera that they're shooting the actual show on.
Probably not.
And yeah, that's not going to be indicative of the quality at the end, because that's definitely a phone shot. Sorry, I'm just looking closer now, because even the grain's all in his face. There's like high compression in the shadows. That at most I'd say that's just exactly what you're saying. Someone just took a little quick promo video. Why they threw that out there, I don't know. But yeah, that's I'm sorry, but that's, and this is who's making this show again? Sorry, it's gone on. I'm trying to remember.
It's Netflix, is it, Megan?
Yep.
It's Netflix, yeah. There's absolutely zero way Netflix would be using cameras of that.
No, of course. Like we don't need to even go down the rabbit hole on this. Like it's clear that it's just it's just a photo.
This is not I think any outrage that is spawned by something like this is negligible. You've gotten nothing, you know. You have seen nothing. When the trailer comes out, then maybe complain. I still won't listen to it, but still go complain. Like,
Kerri, did this make any odds to your? Are you even a Resident Evil fan? I don't notice.
Not particularly. I mean, I played a few of them. I really liked Resident Evil 5 and I played Resident Evil 7, but I wouldn't be a die-hard fan.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I think it's very hard to be so harsh about something that's very obviously not meant to be the final product. And I think regardless what comes out, it's never going to be to everybody's taste. It's not going to be what everyone had imagined, so there's always going to be someone that's unhappy with it. I think it's just better to wait and see how it unfolds rather than kicking up a massive fuss before it's even actually been released.
100%, like 100%. And it's, you throw the internet a bone, like, you know, and they're still going to tear it to pieces. So what can you do? And just, I wanted to get like the flavor of the room here as well, bringing race back into the conversation now. So the big issue, the biggest problem I think the internet has, if this had been a white guy, I don't think we'd be talking about it right now. The fact that Leon Kennedy is white in the games and is clearly Hispanic in this photo, or at least of a different race. I don't want to presume his Hispanic origin or whatever, but is clearly of a different race than Caucasian. Then this is what is really stirring the pot. And I have been privy to conversations where people I know are very, you know, fervent about the fact that that's not my Leon, you know, and it's kind of like, your Leon? You know, it's like, well, at what point in Resident Evil 2 did he speak very staunchly about his Caucasian heritage? It doesn't matter. It doesn't make any odds. Like, Idris Elba could be the new Leon Kennedy. It wouldn't change the story in the slightest. Yeah. So like that's kind of my feeling on it, and I do support diversity. I don't like the idea of diversity for diversity's sake, don't get me wrong, but I also don't think that somebody shouldn't get the job because they're not the right race. I think like if they introduced this guy or interviewed this guy and he was genuinely the best take that they got that day, yeah, give him the damn job. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, this is the problem with adaptations to film and TV. Fans usually want the production company to get the actor or actress or whatever who looks most like the character.
Even if they're a terrible actor.
Not based off acting ability, not based off any of that. It's like, who looks most like the character I've been looking at for the past 7 games or whatever.
Exactly,
you know?
exactly.
And that's not how it works. You need someone who can act as well. You know, we've all seen movies where someone was chosen because, I don't know, they were a popular actor at the time, or they had the right look or whatever, and they, like, there's more charisma in a brick, you know? So just go with the best person for the job. And always.
In fact, if you are interviewing people for this role and you specifically go for the person who looks the most like the character, then if you are listening to this and you do have a problem with this because of the whole cosplay aspect, that is hiring a cosplayer. That's not hiring an actor. That's hiring a mannequin that looks like the thing, you know? So, like, I don't know, it's just bizarre. Kerri, what do you think in terms of like these adaptations to TV and movies? In gaming, we're getting loads of them at the moment, but it doesn't stop there. Like books, what have you, people always have a kind of an idea in their mind of what something should look like, or they have been following something like Resident Evil and know exactly what something should look like. And when it comes to race, do you think that, this is a loaded question, I understand, but do you think it takes anything away, or do you think that there's anything to be said for, I guess, trying to be more accurate in that way?
I think unless they specifically say like this person is from a certain you know, descent or whatever, I don't think it matters. Everybody has got a different idea of a character in their head, be that Harry Potter or whether that's something from Lord of the Rings, whatever. We've all made up these characters in our head, and it doesn't matter how hard anybody else tries, they're not going to match up to what we have thought of. So I think with something like Resident Evil, unless it is an animation adaptation, like the series, you're never going to get the exact same, you know, person you imagine it to be. So for me, race doesn't necessarily matter unless it has specifically stated where they are from and blah de blah, you know, the color of their skin. Unless it specifically states that, I don't think that when it comes out it matters to me personally, because I think regardless, as I said, regardless what they come up with, it's not going to be what you've imagined, so you're never going to make anybody happy.
No, you're right, and you make a good point in that, like, if it ever came up in their backstory, I can understand the justification. Like, if they're, let's take a real world example here. For example, the tragic loss of Chadwick Boseman, who played Black Panther. You know, like that is a terrible loss to the acting world. However, they obviously need to recast Black Panther, or at least another version of him or something. If they all of a sudden cast like a pasty red-haired Irishman with a Kerry accent for that role and then play them off as from Wakanda, that doesn't work. Okay, like I can understand why the internet will be okay, you know, but in this instance where it really doesn't matter whatsoever, it's never came up where he's from, I think it's fine. Aaron,
I just want to add on to the end of that. I'm very surprised that there's such like controversy or outspoken behavior behind this, because I'll be honest, lads, I've seen the Resident Evil movies. The standard of quality isn't that great.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know why you are suddenly getting precious now.
All of a sudden,
so I don't think it's over like preciousness of the quality of whatever audiovisual medium could come out of this. Of the Resident Evil series. It's a lot more targeted than that. So yeah, as far as my books, I said just he's right. He's not white now.
Let's get over it.
I'm still not gonna watch it. Like I'm just not. It has very little interest in me. I maybe actually, now that I think about it, because I might just see what it's like and if they do it well or not. But
it has potential. Yeah, like, if it is good, it could be good. Like, I mean, you know,
a TV show doesn't operate on who the characters are. It operates on what they do. So there's literally like 0 point in thinking about anything else, to be honest, in my books anyway.
And speaking of horror properties that are getting a rework, Dead Space, ladies and gentlemen, moving on to our next item. Dead Space has been getting a remaster from the team over at EA. And in the past week, they did a very strange thing. This is like a new world for EA in terms of marketing. They showed off the game in a live Twitch stream. Having the developers on, having different people from different departments on, doing different interviews. Like there was a whole like 15 minutes around just lighting and level work, and then there was a whole other one about the gameplay and gore and all that. So this is a whole new world, I think, for big publishers to really get these Twitch influencers to come on, do an interview. You're automatically getting the 60,000 people that they have watching them religiously, looking at it, and then whomever else comes along. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But did anybody catch any of this Dead Space goodness that has been floating around?
Some. I caught some screenshots, some articles, some clips here and there. I agree with you. This is new territory for EA. They're not known for doing like, here's tech demos and here's this, that, and the other.
Yeah, because
one thing I did notice from a few of the clips was, and this is not like obviously indicative of the final product, but when you look at like side by side like footage of the old game and the new game, because lighting has come such a long way, like light areas don't. When you see a light at the end of a tunnel, it doesn't look as scary as it did in kind of the older game.
Yeah.
Purely because of like muddy graphics.
Yeah.
Kind of made it that little bit darker and scarier because you're like, I see a little twinge of light, but there also could be something down there. But now when you look down a hallway, it's like, oh, there's a big bright like fluorescent light. That looks safe enough.
Yeah. It's like when they started bringing VHS into DVDs and into Blu-rays, you lost an awful lot of the nuance,
Yeah.
But having said that, this
is
a little bit different where they're not just like changing the format like that, I guess. They are reworking things. So like, yeah, you would hope that they, I don't know, lean into the dark, but I guess we'll see as it goes on. Anybody else see anything interesting in it, or should we just move on to the next item?
No, I didn't keep up with it much myself now, unfortunately. Yeah.
I don't really care, if I'm deadly honest, about the new Dead Space. Like, I want to care, but I don't, because like I love that game so much. I really do. But it doesn't need a remake. They're trying to cash in on that Resident Evil 2 remake stuff. Like that's the whole reason they're doing this. But when they remade Resident Evil 2, they turned a PS1 game into Dead Space pretty much. Do you know?
Well,
I don't know why they're doing this.
That live stream, was there any gameplay in that, or was that like a showcase
it was like
video, like a
gameplay,
heavy curated?
Yeah, you got to see some stuff, but it wasn't actual, final results stuff.
Okay, no, because I was going to say, if that was live, they did live gameplay, that's very bold. That's very brave. To show, like, yeah, we are so certain we've built a solid project this early and beta that we will literally live stream it to anyone who wants to play. And, like, we're that confident that it's well built. But that's not what they did, so boo. Boo you, EA.
Boo from the CGC Badger himself.
Yeah.
Well, that is that. Let's move on to the next item, which is Norman Reedus. Our boy, our Daryl from The Walking Dead, or what's he called in this game again? Bridge something or another?
Sam Porter Bridges.
Bridges.
You had that on the tip of your tongue. Norman Reedus apparently has given indication that Death Stranding 2 may be happening, and in fact his quote, I guess, is that it's in negotiations with Sony. Shane, are you excited?
Yes. Bring it on. Give me more Death Stranding. I know that game is Marmite. I know a lot of people didn't get it. I loved it. Bring it on. Make it weirder than the first one, even. Just like, I want Kojima to just double down and be like, do you know what? If you want Death Stranding, you're going to get a game that's so Death Stranding, it's going to make you puke.
I would love if he just like did a weird Kojima thing where it was just completely unlike the first one. And now it's like, I don't know, a flight simulator or something.
That or that, it could go one way or the other, but I'm happy for him to just like double down and go really deep Death Stranding madness and just let me experience it and experience more crazy, weird Death Stranding crap, because I really liked it, and I would like more of it. I don't know. I'm on the fence. I would like more of it because I thought it was cool and there's weird stuff and it's something different. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, oh, it's kind of nice to just have it as that sole alone thing.
Yep.
That I can look back on and go, that was a cool little weird Kojima experiment game. It's done we move on to the next thing, and he does something else weird.
Like, it's hard to have anything be auteur if it's a franchise, you know?
Exactly. That's yes. You took the words out of my brain.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Kerri, are you familiar at all with Death Stranding or Hideo Kojima, or are we the biggest nerds on the planet right now?
No, I bought it, I downloaded it, I played it for a bit, and I put it down and never went back to it. It didn't grip me. I wish it did, because so many people rave about it, but it just, unfortunately, if a game doesn't grip me within an hour, I'm just like, no.
Yeah.
And I put it down and I don't go back to it. So I can't say I'm terribly excited, but maybe that's because I didn't finish the first one.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm
fair.
a massive Kojima fan, like, of his old games, and I was super excited to play this, and I put it down almost immediately. I'm not into it. Whatever that game is doing, it just it's weird, and I get why you like it, Shane, but like I just couldn't. But the one thing I will say about that game that I will always hold to it is that it introduced me to the band Low Roar. That's all I care about.
Yes.
That is a great introduction music-wise.
Yeah, it is awesome. They're regularly hit up on my Spotify playlists. Very regularly. I love it.
And what about you, Aaron, before we move on?
Yeah, I actually meant to say this last week because I know Bo mentioned Death Stranding as well, or it was mentioned somewhere in the conversation. A while ago, while I was editing one of these incredibly lovely podcasts, you were talking about Death Stranding, and I decided, why not? I'll download it and give it a go. We are tied locked 2 for 2, boys, because I fucking love that game along with Shane. I love me a bit of Death Stranding, and I fully agree. I'm not too fussed about a second one. It was just, but what I shouldn't like Death Stranding, because I love like just zipping through games and just not being held back, and the whole point of that game is to hold you back. But just spending however many, like 80 hours of my life just bull rushing, like just bullheading through like some apocalyptic game was incredible to me. But I fully agree. It's like, what? It's more like I literally don't see what they can really do or why they should really do anything past that. Like, because I will be a bit annoyed if after playing through the whole game, what I'm about to say might be a little spoilery, but I'll tell you, I know how to fix it. Imagine like the second game starts, and within the first 15 minutes, they just go, "Oh, everything you did in your first game that like drove you insane and you spent hours doing, it was pointless." So let's go do it again. That's really going to annoy me, and I don't see what else they can do, bar, as you'd already mentioned, literally building like a completely different game, or a game with like completely different enemies.
Death Stranding Mexico.
Yeah, something to that effect, or he goes to Europe or something But it is like you say, Phil. Like it is hard to be an auteur. Like if you get a franchise, it's like Leonardo da Vinci going, "You've had the Mona Lisa, now get ready for Mona Lisa 2."
Have you seen Sistine Chapel 4 though?
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like it's these kind of things where you're like, I think I want it to be a strange, weird little thing that stands alone, a weird little beacon of light of gaming weirdness.
Yes, I agree. Let's move on to our last news item of the week before we let this thing run on too far. And it is a tip of the cap news story this week, because we are losing somebody in the gaming industry, at least in his current role, who is more important than you would imagine, even though I'd never heard of him until today. And I don't think many of you at home will have either. The Nintendo console designer behind such designs as the American and European NES and other such Nintendo devices, I guess, Lance Bars, thank you for highlighting that there, Aaron. He is going to be stepping down from his position after nearly 39 years of doing design work for Nintendo. That, I have to say, as I said, I'd never heard of his name before today. I have to say, tip of the cap, my good sir. You have come up with many iconic designs in the industry. Like, just to go over the article that we have in the doc, he was behind the NES. There was also, I believe, the nunchuck for the Wii. He did stuff for Nintendo 64. He did like so many things that are so like imprinted in my mind in terms of their shape. If I saw a silhouette of many of his designs, I could tell you exactly what they are, and that goes back 40 years. You know, an impressive feat to say the least, and you know, good luck to him whatever he does next.
Yeah, like
100%.
someone's going to try snap him up, I reckon. Maybe
He must be old as hell though.
Probably. Maybe he's retiring. Maybe it's like a case of he's not just leaving. He's probably fully retiring.
Fortnite.
And maybe no one's gonna. Fortnite's gonna snap him up for news.
Blizzard's all
Soldier,
over him.
Soldier Boy's all over him to design his
I think
console.
Soldier Boy will get him to do another console. Oh my god, it's all coming together. It's all coming together. Oh, I love it. I love it. But yeah, I'm a massive tip of the cap to Lance Barrs from everybody here at CGC. We were not aware of you, but now that we are, you will be missed.
Yeah,
a slow clap for all the visual watchers that won't play very well for the audio listeners from Shane.
No, I didn't want to like start hammering, clapping into the microphone for the poor audio listeners at home.
But that is that. Okay, guys, that has been our news this week that we gave a damn about, and thank you for taking them in with us. Before we leave you, we are going to answer the question of the week. So, no further ado, play that thing. Question of the week. So, as I said, this week, our question of the week does not come from the community, but it will in future podcasts. I just had an epiphany. I had an epiphany this week, and I had to get something off my chest, and I needed to figure out if you guys did this too. But generally, our questions do come from the community. You can get in on that question asking goodness. I got it that time. Over at the Casual Game Community on Facebook. That's our Facebook group. Or you can get it in the Discord, and both of those will be linked in the description below. But this week, I wanted to ask the guys here, is there any games that you would recommend to play whilst you are listening to podcasts? Now, this is a very special kind of game. For anybody who doesn't do this, I do encourage you to, because if you find that there's some time in your life where you just want to ingest some information via podcast form, maybe an audiobook, whatever it is, there's games out there that don't demand your full attention, that you can just kind of plow through. Maybe you're grinding, maybe you're like, you know, as I said earlier, you're cleaning houses. The reason I had to ask this question this week was playing House Flipper. It really, I've done this with other games. Like, I'll have a couple of other examples I can throw out here, but House Flipper was really, to me, the most perfect example of a podcast game I've ever come across. But I wanted to know, like, have you guys ever had that epiphany of like, wow, this is really something special to just listen to somebody ramble in my ear as I do this menial task? Aaron, I'm going to ask you first. What's a good podcast game?
I'll tell you what I think. It's definitely the game that I listened to the most things while playing.
Okay.
I think probably one of the best, and it just got a big new update, and I encourage everyone to get back into it. Is No Man's Sky.
That's a good one. I've listened to podcasts while playing that myself.
Yeah,
because it's a very easy, just casual grind, as you said, going on in the background. I think the best metric. It's not a perfect one, but like one of the best metrics to judge a game by would it be good for a podcast for is like how much dialogue is in it, or specifically how much dialogue you have to pay attention. So a game like No Man's Sky, where the story is just kind of handed to you and you don't really have to pay too much attention. It's just all about, right, brains being shut off, hands are just being let go. Just perfect podcast game all around.
Yeah. No, that's a great answer. That's a super answer. And you're right, actually. That does make a great podcast game, doesn't it? Like, I often try to introduce... Like, I listen to a stupid amount of podcasts, folks. It's an addiction. But I inject them into any situation I can. And a lot of the times I'll be playing a game, and I've become really, really good at opening up the Spotify app on the PlayStation or on the Xbox and pausing it when the dialogue thing comes up, and then I'll have like 5 minutes of driving to the next mission and then pause and then the dialogue and then put and play. But that's annoying as hell. But something like, you know, No Man's Sky, House Flipper, there's literally nobody speaking. Nothing gets in the way of that podcast goodness.
100%. You're dead on there.
Well, you were dead on. I'm
wow.
I'm reiterating your point. Like I stop even talking.
I agree with your analysis of my analysis. That's what I'll tell you.
Analysis squared. I love it. Share. Oh no, wait. What did I say? I was going to go to Kerri actually next. Kerri, what is some games that you enjoy whilst podcasting or listening? I guess.
So, as we kind of touched on earlier, Destiny is quite a grindy game. So there's an awful lot of bounties and things that you have to complete, and sometimes that is not the most crack. So I find having a podcast on in the background, that is really good. It just kind of passes the time, and there's very little dialogue when you're just trying to get the power grind up. So yeah, that would probably be the main game I listen to podcasts to. But when I did play House Flipper, I also listened to quite a lot of podcasts with that, because it's such a relaxing game. So why not have a podcast on in the background where you're learning a little bit more while you're relaxing?
This is true. And like the reason I think, and the reason I'll fight anyone that this is like the ultimate podcast game, is we've all done it. When you are cleaning your own house, you put on a podcast or you put on music or whatever. This is literally you cleaning a virtual house. So it's like, it's almost like makes it more realistic to be listening to something in my ear. When I'm playing the game, I'm role playing that the game character has these earbuds in their ear as they're playing it. But yeah, that is two amazing choices. Shane?
Yeah, so to back up Kerri's point, I was going to say as well that any game that like has a lot of grind, or a game that you've maybe already put like 200 hours into, so you've experienced every inch of dialogue or anything that's going to happen, and you're just grinding out your weekly missions or whatever, or maybe it's like Animal Crossing and you're just going on to sell a few potatoes or whatever it is you do in Animal Crossing.
Turnips, Shane, please.
Turnips, sorry, apologies. I mixed up my root vegetables.
Your Irish is fine.
I know. So yeah, that kind of thing. But then obviously we can't skip over this question without mentioning the behemoth that is Minecraft.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now Minecraft is very similar in a way to Aaron's choice of No Man's Sky. They're very much like, you know, survival, buildy, exploration games. But like, who has not played Minecraft while listening to something different apart from the music or sounds of Minecraft, you know?
Yep, 100%. That was actually going to be my secondary answer as well, was Minecraft, because like it is like sometimes it's nice to play Minecraft without music or whatever, because that chill, like ever so often music that plays, the little guitar strums and stuff, it's quite nice. But like 99% of the time it's something I'm catching up on, or for sure. Yeah. And it's the very same as No Man's Sky in that way. There's no dialogue, so, and the same as House Flipper as well, there's no dialogue. So 100%, like whack it on. It's not going to affect anything.
With No Man's Sky, I like to treat like podcasts and music like the spaceship radio, you know, just like when you're flying through space, you're like, oh, what have I got? What space station am I going to listen to next? You know, so just
before you click on a new song, do you like out loud go? As you're changing station?
No, but I will now.
That's awesome. That's something actually. Wouldn't that be a cool feature? Because I was on.
I was thinking.
I was on another podcast there during the week, the Allcast Gamers podcast over on YouTube. Check them out, by the way, if you haven't. And they got us on for a debate show that they have called Herds of Nerds, where they get like a load of. It's a really flattering name, but they got a load of people on to fight it out every second week about, you know, different topics. And this week's topic was the most underrated console, and I picked Xbox, the OG one. And, you know, we were all just giving different points. And one of my points was that, well, this had a hard drive before anything else really did. And you could put music on it. And in games such as Grand Theft Auto, you could make your own custom playlist on the radios in the cars. So, like, you could literally put in any songs you wanted. And then they will only play when you get into a car and turn over to that radio station. So it was the next level in terms of bringing, you know, music into your games, because like your No Man's Sky example, Shane, if you're playing music, like that's a pain in the ass to turn it off every time you get out of the spaceship or whatever. But like this game had it built in that, like, no, this is your car radio, you know. So that's why, to my original point, wouldn't that be a cool feature to actually integrate that into the console
Spotify radio
experience.
integration.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
Something
that I did that with San Andreas as well, and I
Mm.
was thinking that earlier. I must have been thinking at the same time, like that would be lovely. Stop you pausing. You get out of your car, it'll pause, even if it just kept your Spotify rolling, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be very, very nice now.
It's just a level
Yeah.
of immersion, like, you know.
And
Yeah.
there was something NBA, the new NBA 2K22 is going to have dynamic evolving playlists on their music. So like you could, if you played the game when it first releases and then say you pick it up a year later, the songs could be completely different.
That's a clever move on their part, because that's going to mean that they don't have to spend as much on licensing music.
Yes.
So they're going to get like a lot of young artists' music, and they're going to cycle them in and get like really good deals on like, we'll have this one for 3 months, we'll have this one for, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're going to give them that. They're going to give them that rock bottom Spotify money, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
But it could, if it works out well for them financially, you'll probably see this feature creep into a lot of games that have like, you know, real world soundtracks.
Like, this is something we could talk about for another like hour, so we probably won't. But
we won't.
But let me just put this fear into your mind now. So, do you know how lovely it is to go back to an old game like a Burnout or even a FIFA game or something, and it's like, I remember these songs?
Mm-hmm.
You won't have that anymore if that feature kicks off, because, you know, you'll either have... No, you'll only ever have probably whatever was on the disc on day one, because in 20 years' time, the update's gone or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. That is a shame, and that is like, and I agree with you. I'm not out here championing this feature for 2K. You're talking about dynamic music in games and stuff. I just read during the week that this is going to be a thing.
Shane, I
and it is a
know
little
you're
sad.
shadowing. I know you're gaslighting for EA, okay, or 2K or whoever it is. Okay,
Yeah.
Give it up. Give it up. Right. Okay, that is it. I think it's about time that we stopped arguing about Shane's gaslighting and we took this baby home. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us this week. If you have never been here before, welcome again, because you did stumble across what is by far the most casual of gaming podcasts in the universe. A casual gamecast, if you will. And if you have been here before, thank you as always for all of your support. If you do want to support us a little bit more, you can do so in a number of ways that cost nothing. All you have to do is go down into the description below. You can rate the podcast, you can subscribe to the podcast, you can review the podcast, you can share the podcast, you can tell a friend about the podcast. And Kerri, in our fine tradition here at the Casual Gamecast, we pick somebody in the community that people at home can tell about the Gamecast and spread the word, spread the good word. Now, in the past, we've said milkmen, we've said butchers, we've said lollipop ladies, and so on and so forth. What is a person in the community that you would recommend people run out and tell about the Casual Gamecast?
Your boss. Let's go Bowls.
Nice. That's a bold move. That is a bold move. Reach, you're all back in the office now, guys. Reach over that desk, grab him by the tie, pull him in close, and whisper sweetly into his ear, "Listen to the Casual Gamecast." Get it over and done with. Kerri, I love it. I love your heads up. Okay, guys, that has been that. Shane has been with us. Kerri has been with us, and thank you so much for joining us. Aaron has been with us also. Kerri, before we go, where can people find you if they want to keep up with all of your Destiny stuff?
I mean, you can find me on Twitter. It's just doodlebug_x, but there's not much exciting happening over there, but you're welcome to come along anyway.
Good stuff, good stuff. We will have everything in the description below, as always, folks. But thanks again. I've been Phil, he's been Shane, she's been Kerri, and he's been Aaron. Take care, and most of all, stay casual. Say goodbye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.